Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pageant Sit Down. My name is Regina Elena, and I am super excited to have all of you joining us today. And I'm even more excited to be here with my co-host, Elizabeth. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Regine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a busy week for me, but this is going to be a fun little conversation tonight, so I'm excited.
Me too. Wait, I was working on the artwork for today's episode and realized we haven't gone live in a month.
Yeah, that sounds about right, which is crazy. We keep trying to figure out a time where we're both free, and it's getting harder as we progress because I'm not in university anymore, so I don't have the flexibility as much as I used to. So anyway, we figured it out.
Exactly. We're back, we're here, and we're excited to be on air. And we are even more excited because we have one of our pageant sisters on who has also been very busy for the last couple of months.
Yes. We should introduce her, I think, so she can tell us about that. Everyone, please welcome the current Miss International Canada 2023, Melanie Renaud. Hi, Mel.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We're good. It's so nice to actually sit down and talk to you because you've been so busy. And when you actually texted me, I think last week, I was like, she's alive.
Seriously, though.
I was sleeping for a couple weeks, so you're not wrong. It took quite a bit to get used to the time change because it's 13 hours between Japan and Eastern Standard Time. Mm-hmm. Wait, are we still in Eastern Standard Time? I don't remember. Yeah. It's EDT and then EST. Yeah. Because there was the switch too that happened while I was back from Japan. So
Oh my gosh,
which was hilarious. I didn't even notice it at all because I was still recovering from jet lag. So it didn't really do me any favors, unfortunately.
Yeah. All good.
But it didn't make a difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Melanie, I know you're talking a lot about Japan and the time difference, and I'm sure our viewers who are not sure or familiar with who you are, can you tell us briefly about who you are?
Of course. So I'm Melanie Renaud. I got back into pageantry during the pandemic. So I actually signed up for Galaxy Canada pageants right before I graduated from university, and it was postponed a year, but that's actually how I met Regine here. Mm-hmm. And I was crowned Miss Galaxy Canada in 2021 with the 2022 title. Went on to compete internationally in August of 2022. My time is all over the place. I'm like, yeah, that sounds correct. And then I geared down all my focus towards going to do a title that I had on my bucket list for years, which was Miss Universe Canada. My first time there, I placed second runner-up. I felt very great, very fulfilled. And I still felt like there was a little bit left in me. And so I signed up for another pageant, which was 3 weeks later, which was Miss International Canada. And I was so thankful to be crowned. And I have my crown here too. I'm not wearing it right now, but it's so beautiful.
Wow.
It's got all these pearls and very beautiful crown. It's actually, I believe it's a Ricardo Petrarca crown too, because I know the Galaxy crowns were as well. And then 3 weeks later, after being crowned Miss International Canada, I was in Japan. So it's been a whirlwind of a year. Not many people would do 3 pageants back to back. Some people might call it crazy. I call it maybe ambitious. And no, I knew I still had something left in me to give, and I'm so glad I did it. And I had the most amazing time. And for those of you that don't know, I did mention that I got back into pageantry, but this is actually my 10th year of pageantry. So my first ever pageant was in 2013. So it's not fresh for me, but it definitely felt fresh getting back into it. And I've gained a lot of experience over the years. So even if you've done a pageant before, it doesn't mean you don't have a lot to learn.
I just can't believe that you, as ambitious as you are, and Elizabeth and I know how you are, when you have a goal in mind, you just go for it. Oh, Liz is gone.
Oh, did we lose her?
We did. It's okay. Let me bring my camera on. But as I was saying, it's so interesting because you're so ambitious in pageantry and outside of pageantry. But what was it that you're like, I got this. I'm going to do Miss Universe Canada. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do Miss International Canada. What was that inner calling, I guess?
I always knew I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it well. Like, I wanted to be my best self going into that pageant because I know what kind of a large scale it is. And I didn't feel ready for the longest time. And I think that I had fears of obviously failing, and that kind of kept me from signing up year after year. And I think during the pandemic, I just had this shift where I really was learning more about myself and what I wanted and the goals that I had left. And I told myself that I was capable, and I was more than capable. And I think that each day, just growing that self-confidence helps me to get onto that stage. And even on my final question answer at Miss Universe Canada, I answered that way. I said, I didn't sign up for years. I didn't feel like I was ready. And I've never felt more in tune with what I wanted until this year. And even though that's not the title I ended up with, I still think that goal transferred over because I knew that Miss International was just as great of a pageant, and that I would love to represent Canada on the international stage and show what I had to offer. Even with the little time I had, I still feel very proud, and I couldn't imagine it any differently.
I love that. Well, you did amazing. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could have done, because you did Miss Windsor first?
Yes, I did Miss Windsor first. Initially, I told Sunny, I said, hey, I don't know if I can do Miss Windsor, because he messaged me, I want to say December. In December, I said, I'm so focused on doing Miss Universe Canada. Like, this is the year. That's where my focus is. And he let it slide. He's like, well, the winner gets to go to Miss Universe Canada for free. And we're Canadian. We know what it costs to do pageants in Canada. There's not a ton of support, not a ton of sponsors. Entry fees are quite a bit. So I was like, well, what do I have to lose? So if that's part of the path for me to get to Miss Universe Canada, I'm going to take it. And obviously I've been living in Windsor since I went to school I left for school in 2015. So it's been a few years. So I've lived in Windsor that long. So I figured everything was kind of lining up for me to do it. I said, might as well. And I placed first runner up. So I didn't win that pageant. And I'll be honest with you, the month after losing, being so close to that goal, it did set me back a little bit. It took me some time. I'm generally a very positive person, but I know that being first runner up is not easy. I've left pageants as second runner up, like Miss Universe Canada, excited and happy and looking forward to something new. But I've also been in that first runner up position, and I know how hard it feels to think that something was aligning for you and then just didn't. So I took some time. I had people asking, are you still going to go? Are you still going to do it? And I said, I'm going to do it. I just need my little break here. I need to recenter myself, because that also meant that I was going to be doing it all financially on my own. And I worked very hard to find sponsors, and I'm so grateful for them. Obviously worked hard myself to make money to be able to go as well. And this is a burden that so many Canadian girls have. I know that in other countries, some don't have to pay entry fees, but that's not the case here in Canada. And there's so many production fees and not enough sponsors. So it makes sense why there are these entry fees. I understand that, but it definitely did set me back a little bit. But I think that I'm glad that it happened that way, because I think it pushed me a little bit harder. I think that it had like something in me that wanted to prove that I can do this on my own. I don't need to to have the entry paid for. I know that I can make it. I know I'm going to do well. And I worked probably 3 times as hard as I would have if I were crowned. It would have been a different story. But something really unique about doing Miss Windsor is, yes, it pushed me harder for getting to where I wanted to be at Miss Universe Canada. Didn't think it would do that, but it also opened up the door to compete at Miss International Canada. So as first runner-up, my prize was to compete for free at Miss International Canada. Mind you, I was still in the mindset like, well, I did this pageant to go to Miss Universe Canada, so that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going first. But it was always at the back of my mind. I had people encouraging me like, oh, like you won that prize. You have to do it. You have to do it. And it wasn't until after Miss Universe Canada that I decided I was going to take it up because I felt like it was aligning with me. And ever since winning first runner up, I was like, this was the path that was supposed to happen for me. I'm 100% that hard work pays off, but also like some things were just aligning in that way. And that's something that was out of my control. And just embracing that and knowing that this was meant for me, I think that was the best part of it all.
Absolutely. I think you did a great job too with your whole mindset, because I have talked to you throughout kind of like all the processes that you've been through for this, and you were always thinking one step at a time, like one goal at a time. And if one didn't work out exactly how you planned, you shifted and you kind of made a new plan and went full force on that one, which I think is really smart. I think some people get ahead of themselves, especially, you had that free entry fee to Miss International Canada, but you were on a different path, like at the start. So I think it led you to a lot of success. And I also think when it comes to Miss Universe Canada, it's great experience. It's obviously under the same umbrella of people, so it's great to have like a really amazing showing. I remember I was literally driving home from the Jonas Brothers concert when it was Miss Universe Canada night, and it was like midnight, and I was in this
Liz, you're freezing.
Traffic jam, and I told my sister, I'm like, hold up the phone,
no.
turn it up loud, driving, but we need to
Hang on. She'll be back. Liz is having a little bit of technical difficulties today. Give me 1 second. Let me
Sorry, I don't know. My thing keeps.
I'm gonna refresh.
Blurry first, but you were still talking.
Okay. I didn't want to keep talking. Okay, we're good?
We're good.
Anyway, long story short, I saw you win, and I saw you get second runner up, and I was like so excited for you, and I knew that like you were going to be happy with that and bounce back and do something even better. So I was so proud of you. And then I got to see you win Mr. National Canada in person, which was even better. So it was great. But I wanted to ask you, when it comes to like mindset, I know I was saying you were able to do it, but was it an easy shift, or do you find it difficult to kind of let go of one dream and move on to the next so quickly like you had to?
Well, I won't say it's an easy shift. It definitely wasn't for me. Like I had to take some time to obviously get back into the mindset that I was going to do another pageant. But I think that was harder after Miss Windsor going into Miss Universe Canada than it was Miss Universe Canada going into Miss International Canada. That wasn't as hard of a shift. I mean, I felt great. I didn't feel like there was anything I could have done differently on that stage. Yeah. Even as second runner up, I felt like a winner. Like that was like a winning moment in my books. Even though I didn't get a crown, I just felt like that inner winning energy, if that's what you call it. So I felt great, and I felt like, yeah, there's still more in me to give. But I think Sunny had mentioned like the next day, like, so Miss International Canada now, and I was like, not yet.
Wait.
Let me just process. Let me just get everything sorted out. I also stayed in Vancouver for another week just to explore. Right. So I was like one thing at a time. And I think honestly, that is what worked best for me is taking my time afterwards, just focusing my energy on one thing at a time. And then when I was ready, I was ready. But I did, when I was on that stage, I was like, maybe it's a possibility. Maybe it's a possibility. Yeah, just things were aligning for me in that way. And I just had to embrace it. But changing your mindset is not always easy. Like, that was an easier shift, but it does take some time, and you really have to know that it's what you want. It has to align with your goals. And I knew that doing Miss International Canada and being Miss International Canada was a great platform to have, just as much as Miss Universe Canada. So I'm in the spot I'm meant to be. And it's funny, I was mentioning this to Miss New Zealand while I was there, because she's like, "Oh, you were just crowned." And I was like, yeah, everything just kind of happened. Yes, it was a goal, but I came in with no expectations. And now I'm here in Japan. So I'm like, something was aligning for me to be here with all of you. And I do immensely feel that I was meant to be there and make all those new friendships, and the staff was amazing. And not many people can say they got a free trip to Japan. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a year. One thing after the next, shifting my mindset, shifting my goals. But I don't think that going from Miss Universe Canada to Miss International Canada was that big of a shift. Especially it's owned by the same company, Beauties of Canada. So the same staff, I love the staff at Miss Universe Canada, and to see them again 3 weeks later was amazing. They're so incredibly friendly, and just a great experience.
I was actually reading in the chats as you were speaking. Jillian Parent is in the chats. She's watching. Hello, Jillian. She says, you did us proud. So you did us both. Wait, you did us both so proud, Miss Melanie, and you still do.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Jill. So Jill is one of the directors of Miss Windsor, and she was very much a support system during Miss Universe Canada and Miss International Canada. She is also one of the staff members for Miss Universe Canada and Miss International Canada. And she was checking up on me while I was in Japan too. Her and Sunny are incredible. I'm so thankful for them.
That's so awesome.
And I love that you also had some of your pageant sisters who were at Miss Universe Canada with you at Miss International Canada. It's like a mini reunion all together.
Yeah, it certainly was. I didn't know that Kim and Jess were going to be there until a little bit closer too. And Kim ended up being my roommate, which I loved because I love Kim. And I think she'll be going somewhere soon, potentially. I don't think I'm supposed to share that, so
we won't say what.
We'll find it. Yeah. She may be going somewhere. But no, she, like, getting to see her again, it was like we hadn't left Miss Universe Canada, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome. Just
the greatest time. And Miss International Canada ended up being in Windsor, which was easy for me. And then the girls from the West Coast, like Kim and Jess, they got to see what it's like to be in Ontario. And I think Windsor was new for people because it's normally, well, Miss International Canada was held for the first time separately from Miss Universe Canada, but I know Miss Universe Canada is normally in Toronto. So I mean, it was like a really nice reunion. And then there were some girls from other systems that we got to meet. It's funny, Sarah, she had competed in Pageant Group Canada. I don't think it's not being called Miss World Canada anymore. I know they didn't give out the world title this year. So I had never met her in person, but I had I think we all kind of know each other from pageant circles. And this weird, I have people on my friends list that I've never met, and we equally hype each other up on pageant posts. And I'm pretty sure she was one of those girls, and I just had never met her. And she's just incredible. And something that we got to know each other while we were there. And I think that's very easy for pageant girls because we all have similar goals. We're very much kind-hearted at the bottom of it, and there to make a difference and meet new people. And so it's not hard to connect with new girls that you meet just so quickly. And after I won, I met up with her in Toronto, and she actually let me borrow her dresses to take to Japan with me. So two of the dresses that she wore at Miss International Canada, I wore in Japan, which is the nicest thing, like, for someone to be able to do that, because we all know, like, wardrobe is expensive. It's so hard to have so many things. And I was gone for a month. So I had to have enough clothes for a month. And there were a couple gala nights. So I'm like, well, I had a couple rentals, which, I mean, that adds up. So for her to let me borrow her dresses, like, that saved me so much. And like, who does that? Who, like, someone you just met, you know, that's the kind, like, you only see that from pageant girls.
Yeah.
You only see that from pageant girls. Yeah.
For sure. We have been going on for halfway through this show already, which is crazy to think. But you were already giving us some tips and tricks throughout the episode. And, you know, you are still fresh from Miss International and Miss Universe Canada, Miss International Canada. What would your pageant tips be, Mel, for all of those watching us today?
Well, staying organized is very important. I will say I'm not always the most organized person. However, it seems to work out. But planning ahead always works better, because when you're at a pageant, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed, especially when it comes to, like, what am I wearing? How am I doing my hair? And I've probably given my coaches heart attacks from not having that all planned ahead as much as they wanted it to be. But I will say, the days that I did have planned, I knew what I was doing. I didn't have to focus on the little details. I could just be myself and focus on the competition and having a great time. So be as organized as you can when it comes to wardrobe and styling, for sure, because that takes it right off your plate. Another thing is when you're preparing for interview, I really think that it's good to write down your thoughts. I find that helps me the most when I'm thinking of questions I might be asked. Like, journaling or writing down my answer brings it a little bit deeper than I might have answered in person, and makes me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is something I didn't even think I could bring up. But just writing it, it's like a subconscious response. I don't know if there's a science behind it, but I always find that writing down your answers or just exploring your inner self through writing helps in the interview room eventually. What's something else I can think of? Staying positive. It's not easy. I know that I've had to take some time after some things and really get back into my groove, but really trying to keep that positive mindset throughout anything that is thrown your way, because pageant girls are always busy, managing several different things. It's easy to get discouraged, but just know that everything happens for a reason, and you need to just embrace the moment. Embrace the moment, be there in the moment. Don't think far ahead. Don't think too far where you have to be. Because if you don't just enjoy the moment and really embrace, I don't think you can be truly positive about that experience. Even though I didn't place while I was in Japan, I had an incredible time. I didn't need to leave with a crown in order to feel like I had a blast there. Really being present, meeting so many people, exploring the culture. I had like tea ceremonies and all sorts of experiences where I had to be present. And had I been thinking about like, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow? Like, what if I don't win? I need to do this, I need to do that. Then I wouldn't have really enjoyed my time there. There's only one crown. And at the end of the day, that's how it is. Only one girl is leaving with that crown. But if you can make the most of your time there, then that'll be enough of a crown for you.
I love it. That's so good. I am dying to hear more about Japan. I think we talked a lot about pre, but like we know what we're really here for. The Miss International experience. It seems like such a dream. Can you tell us maybe a favorite moment or something that we didn't get to see as viewers in terms of the Miss International competition?
Oh, one of my favorite moments was going to visit this high school. It was about a 2-hour drive, and I didn't get to share too much of it. I think I shared a couple things on my stories, but I have all these videos and pictures that I have not posted because it was a very hectic time. And like I said, it's hard to manage a million things at once. I was probably sitting there posting things from like 2 days before. So a lot of these, like I was so present in this moment. I have so many photos and videos, but I didn't even upload them because I just want to enjoy being there. And when I was me and Miss UK, and we got to the high school. We were immediately greeted and walked right into assembly of probably 500, 600 kids cheering. They had us go on stage and answer some questions. Somebody tried getting their teacher to ask us to marry them. It was very funny. And we're both there like, I don't think that's going to happen, but you're very sweet. Just an amazing time. I think we talked a lot about like what it means to be a pageant queen and like giving our advice to those kids that were there. And then we also got to see the high school. Like we had a meeting with the principal, and then we went into the classrooms and we played games with the kids and we got to know them. We did a drumming class, which was so fun. I have to upload those videos. I remember saying like, oh, like my dad is a drummer and now I'm a drummer too. Like, and that made one of the kids laugh. Like now I can play an instrument too. And oh my gosh, like there was just, I remember looking at one of the staff members that was there and saying, this is my favorite day. Like, just, this is my favorite day. I had no words, just, this is my favorite day. I've never felt so welcomed. Oh my gosh, they had posters of me and Miss UK on the walls everywhere. I think they had a picture from Miss Universe Canada that I didn't even think was published. And I was like, how did they get that? And then it was like, how long have they known that we were coming to this school? Like, I think she said, I feel like Harry Styles. I think it was the closest thing. She's like, I feel like Harry Styles, because like everywhere we went, there was cheering and hugs and just like you felt like a celebrity. And I can't, words can even describe how incredible that trip was. And it was just the two of us that got to go. So like different girls got to go on different trips, but not many of them had like small trips. So like I got to go to Kaga City with about 30 girls. Some of them went to oh my gosh, I don't remember. There was 2 other locations, about 30 girls for each. But there were very few that got to go on like solo-ish trips. Like it was just her and I that were invited. So it felt all very exclusive. And I think that just having like those moments with just the two of us, like that was incredible, because not everybody had those opportunities. I think we went to another high school in a larger group when we were in Kaga City, which was also so much fun. But I think that it was a little bit more intimate when it was just the two of us, and a little bit more like Harry Styles, I guess. And I brought so many maple candies with me. Cute. And I would give them out to kids, adults. And I actually said, like, because I ran out of them there. I didn't bring enough. I didn't realize that we'd be with so many kids. Oh my gosh. And I said, if you give me your address, I'm going to mail some to your high school. And so I got the address, and like they gave us a bunch of gifts. They were so welcoming. Yeah, this is my favorite day. I will say, like, I had a great time on other trips, but I always think about that one. Like that was when I literally was like, this is my favorite day in the moment. I don't know if you guys noticed too, like I didn't post too much about I have so many pictures and videos. My roommate was Emily, and Emily is a friend of mine. Emily and I met in 2021 at Miss Galaxy Canada. She competed that year as well. And the week after I was crowned, she messaged me and she's like, hey, Uganda doesn't have a representative. And I was contacted by the director, and I'm like thinking about it. And I said, oh my gosh, you should do it. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I spent like an hour convincing her to come. And she's like, oh, there's only like 2 weeks. And I'm like, I have 3. Like, I've had 3. Like, yeah, we're in a similar boat. I'm like, who else? Like, think about this opportunity. Just come with me. And sure enough, she ended up caving after I convinced her to come and do something very spontaneous. But she had an amazing time, and I'm so glad she came. They ended up rooming us together. So I think that they might have seen that she had a Canadian passport. And I think that's like how they room people, is by like location, or like they think that like they'll like stay friends, because they had no idea that we knew each other. So it was kind of funny when I'm like, well, yeah, I convinced her to come. Like, I know her. We're both from Canada. So I like, we had a blast together. So like anything that involved Emily and I, like that was very comfortable too. Like being roomed with someone you already knew. I know like we both kind of felt like, well, you didn't get that intimate connection with somebody from being roomed with them, but you never know what can happen with being roomed with somebody, because there's so many different personalities sometimes too. I know that some of the girls might have had issues and got moved around.
Oh, wow.
So I am thankful for that. Yeah. I'm thankful for that. Like, I got to the room and it was just like are we still in Japan?
You can be relaxed. Yeah.
You're still at home with them.
Yeah, that's nice. One less thing to worry about. Yeah.
I'm curious, because now that you mentioned that, I know that when I competed in the Philippines, things get really competitive sometimes with roommates. And I know that there was always like talks about like, oh, label your things just in case someone tries to sabotage you. Yeah. Did you feel any of that, or was it very sisterhood vibes?
Well, definitely not between Emily and I, of course. You know what? There were some girls that were like very competitive mindset, but for the most part, most girls were just very relaxed. More sisterhood. Like we'd all be out in the common area eating ramen at like midnight.
Love that.
Together.
Have fun.
Yeah, so like it definitely felt like an extended sleepover with, and everyone became close. Like, weirdly enough, and I said this, I'm like, this doesn't really feel like a competition. It wasn't until prelims and I was like, oh my god, this is a competition. It just felt like a very long sleepover trip with fun experiences for the longest time. And then I think some people got kind of in their heads before prelims. You got to see the competitiveness come up a little bit. Yeah. The nervousness. But other than that, oh my gosh, like even the day of was pretty relaxed. I know that they tried taking our evening gowns and national costumes beforehand to avoid things happening. So I don't know if things have happened in the past, but they had said like, oh, leave them in this room, we lock it like when you got there. And I'm like, I'm just gonna keep my stuff in my room and just bring it day of, because I didn't personally, like, but some girls did, and it must have happened. I've heard of stuff happening like that at Miss Universe, but I didn't get those vibes there. And I'm a pretty good judge of character, and so I think that things were fine there, and obviously things were fine. So nobody's dresses were cut, nobody was sabotaged. In fact, quite the opposite. Like, oh my gosh, a girl ruined her own swimsuit, Zimbabwe. I can't remember if I don't think she ruined her own swimsuit. I think that she forgot to bring another one. I think that's what happened. She forgot to bring another one, and she was going to go on in prelims with that swimsuit. And it was like, it wasn't like much to look at, and she wasn't feeling good about it. So I gave her one of mine. I gave her my spare one, and then she won best in swimsuit. It's like, here you go. Then Dominican Republic, she lost her belt for her costume, and I think I didn't see her beforehand, but one of the like staff members told me that she was like not doing good because it was very important for the costume. Her and I ended up both having baseball costumes, because I went with my Blue Jays costume, and I had a belt for mine as well, and it happened to be royal blue. The belt that she was missing was royal blue with obviously the flag on it, which I did not have, but I ended up giving her mine because I didn't need it. My costume was like solid blue. The belt really didn't break anything up. Like, it was just for show. Whereas like for hers, like it obviously for show, but like it broke up the colors and it just made everything. So for her, it was like the end of the world. And then for me, it was like, I don't need this. So I think that she was extremely thankful. Like, there was more of that going on. Like, I can only speak about like the times that I helped people out, because those are the ones I know. I have a feeling like that was happening everywhere. Like, girls were giving things of their own to other girls. I think Mexico gave Guatemala one of her dresses. Like, Venezuela lost her luggage. Like, people were helping each other out. There was a lot more of that going on than the other way around.
That's good to see, especially at such a high level competition, like one of the highest level competitions. To see that is really, really good. Just kind of shows that pageants are,
evolving.
Not as bad as you think. It kind of ties into one of the social media questions we got. I'll ask you one of these. What is something you wish people who don't know anything about pageants knew?
Oh, I really wish that they knew the level of mental and physical preparation that go into this. Like, it is no joke how much women study politics and read up on the news and different opinions, and the level of work that goes into obviously being knowledgeable and answering a question to the best of your ability on stage. Like, that takes confidence, but also you really have to know what you're talking about. You can't just be saying nonsense on stage. Like, women in pageants are so much smarter than just a pretty face. It's like, it's beauty and brains. It really, like, there is a beauty aspect, especially like Miss International. I know that they look at the symmetry of your face and the beauty, but they really want someone that can speak well and has advocacy, someone that can think for themselves, and speak eloquently and be smart. So I don't think people realize that it's not just like modeling is work too. Like, obviously I've done modeling, but it's so different from pageants. You have to have a platform, you have to do charity work, you have to speak publicly, you have to, fitness is a part of it too, like be in your best shape, mental work, like studying and whatnot. Like, there's just so much you have to, you're managing your social media, you're also, a lot of girls, like, they're working full-time jobs while doing this as well. This is like 2 full-time jobs. I think I had someone ask me if I got paid to be Miss International Canada, and I said no. Like, the organization does do a lot for me. Like, they've been able to set up like hair sponsors and photo shoot opportunities, and they do what they can, but it's Canada, and there's not a lot of support in that way from our country. Whereas in other countries, I think, like, someone had told me like she gets a salary for being her title, and I was like, that's incredible.
Yeah,
I wish.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and this isn't just for, like, I think in the US it's a little bit different. Obviously, if you're Miss USA, you do get a salary. So it depends on what pageant you're doing. But for the most part, a lot of women you see, they're juggling 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And the one being the pageant job, like, you are financing, you are PR, you are looking for sponsors. Then you're also learning about the world, how to speak, how to walk, I mean, how to walk, it sounds funny to some people, but there is a science to it. There's a way to walk, and you have to practice. So I'd say it's even more than a full-time job.
100%.
And it takes time and it takes effort, and not everybody can do it. I think that pageant women are some of the strongest people alive because they endure all of that while working a full-time job to finance that, that lifestyle. So it's not just all glitz and glamour. It's not everything you see on Instagram. There's so much that goes behind it. And you guys know.
Yeah.
Very true.
Very true.
Yes.
I was actually curious because, you went from Canada Galaxy to Miss Windsor to Miss Universe to Miss International. How did you prepare for that? Because I know we talked a little bit about the mental aspect and preparing mentally, but how did you actually get through each stage of your pageant journey?
Oh my, I mean, I did have to shift a couple of times. I mean, every pageant is different. I think when it came to like Galaxy Internationals, preparing for that was a little bit different than preparing for Miss Universe Canada for me. Yep. But I did definitely it was very important for me. It was still part of my journey because I learned so much in that position. But then I was able to take that another step further and change gears towards Miss Universe Canada. Galaxy was a very different, different kind of title holder. They still look at your walks, but there's no on stage question. So there was different things to prepare for. I think for Miss Universe Canada, I amped up my walking. I was working with someone constantly, and obviously more mental preparation. The interview room I expected to be maybe political. I've seen what happens on the international stage, and I watched Miss Universe Canada in person, so I had a little bit of an idea of what I wanted to go in with. But it's every experience was a little bit different. Even with Miss International Canada, I only had a few weeks to shift there. I couldn't go in with the same mentality as Miss Universe Canada, but it definitely played a part because that is the title that I was training for, right? So I had already had all the sponsors, the wardrobe, the fitness, the speaking skills from Miss Universe Canada, but I still had to shift a little bit. I researched the Miss International organization. I was taking Japanese etiquette classes online. I was learning a little bit of Japanese. I was doing this with it was 2 weeks of preparation because I was in Vancouver for a week, and then you sleep for a little bit, and then and then it's oh, there's 2 weeks until I do another pageant, and so I was doing all of that in that short amount of time. So the preparation was already there, but I had to change a few things to fit the mold of what they were looking for. And it's not I changed myself, it's more I added onto things that I had.
Yeah.
Because I felt I'm a great title. I know I have what they're looking for, but what is something that I can do to go above and beyond so that I get chosen for this specific niche place? It's going to be in Japan. There's Japanese judges. There's going to be a Beauties for SDGs video that I have to make. What are my Beauties for SDGs? What is that cause that I'm passionate about? Because that's what they work with. So I was doing all of this research in that small amount of time. So I think really researching the pageant that you're doing is important. You have to know, because not every pageant is the same. Of course, there's the interview skills, maybe on stage question, maybe what philanthropy work you do, but there's more than just that. There is a niche. So everything I prepared worked together, but there was changes here and there. More than just changes, more adding on.
Gotcha.
I love that. I know Bea Santiago, who you connected with, Miss International 2013. I know she did the same thing when she went to do Miss International. She also did the Japanese etiquette classes, and I love that you did that because it's like what Crystal Keefe from Galaxy says. It's like you're going to work as a national title holder, work as if you're already the international title holder,
Right.
and you definitely did that. And we're all so proud of you because if you, for those who just learned about Melanie today or just recently started following her journey, you have really grown. And like just seeing you gliding on, and I say it all the time, you were gliding on stage, your aura was there, like you were in that moment for Miss Universe Canada and Miss International Canada and Miss International. You were present, you were you, and you're like the best version that I think I've ever seen of you, and I'm so proud of you. I just had to say it.
Yeah, you did a great job in all levels. Yeah, it was so fun to watch, and it's like I know her. Like we're like it was so cool. You did such a good job, and a lot of people thought that as well. There was like a lot of support for you, not only nationally, of course. All of Canada had your back, but you had a lot of international support. I've always been curious to ask this. You can like elaborate or say as little as you want on this, but with you always see like the hot picks on the Grand Slam pageants, and I've never been able to ask anybody about this, but do you guys look at those when you're at the pageant, or does it mess with anybody? Because I feel like it would mess with me because there's so many different versions of these hot picks, and those who know will know what I'm talking about, but it's basically just a ranking of what people envision the top 10 or top 30 to be. So yeah, what is your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny you asked that because I think it's different for everybody. Like obviously like we see it and we talked about it while there.
Yeah.
It is very superficial. Like they're looking at just photos of you and a lot of the time like they're aware of like girls that have been crowned for a year. So like right. If you were just crowned yesterday, like you might not be on someone's hot pick list because they've already known this girl for a year. She's been everywhere online. They're going to be pushing her. And that makes sense. Like in an ideal world, I think I would have liked more time myself. But it worked out the way it did. And that was my journey. But I wasn't on a lot of those hot pick lists. It wasn't until I had gone there. And I think that, oh my gosh, it was one of the bigger blogs that mentioned me. And then somebody else tagged me. And I was like, I paid attention to some of the ones that I felt like had more substance because this was like, they saw a video of me and they saw me talking and they're like, this girl could be a threat or something. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like that's interesting.
That's
because
so
I wasn't on anybody's list. I was like, that was actually kind of funny. I was sitting there with Emily and we were reading this one, it was like, she reminds me of Catherine McPhee and she could be your worst nightmare if you've been, I was like, what? like she could win it all. And I was like, wow, like just from this video that that nobody had seen before. So it's like, I felt like that one it was funny to read. And I think that there's some translation. I don't know about worst nightmare, but that's how it translated. It sounds so dramatic when it's not written in English and you translate it. But no, I when I first got there, that's when like people started to notice me on these top picks. Because the picture that we submitted, like it wasn't like the best picture, mind you, like it just had to be submitted. And I don't normally I won photogenic at Miss Universe Canada, but I will say like I can take a bad picture. This was one of those times.
It's a great photo, but
anybody can take a bad picture. So that's what got submitted. I never posted it, but it was like on the websites and on the People's Choice and whatnot. And that's fine. Like I'm like, I am who I am. I might not like this photo of me, and I was like, that might be why I'm not making these hot pick lists. But it's so much more than just like
100%.
Physical beauty. It really is. Like you can take a really horrible picture and do amazing and win a pageant, you know. I think I'm a testament to that. I
Yes.
mean, I can take many bad pictures, but I still won a pageant. So
Stop it.
You take amazing photos, but anyway.
What mattered was being there, and so like we do look at them, and some girls are like, oh my gosh, don't look at that because it'll get in your head. Like some of the girls were like, don't look at it, like it's so bad, and I'm like, but you're number one, like
they're secretly saving it.
But then the girls that are like, oh my God, I made top 15 or top 20. Like, it can be kind of nice that somebody thinks that highly of you. It can be, but then it can also get in your head. It can get in your head. So I'm pretty mixed. What I will say is, like, I did share a lot of it, and I thanked people because I'm like, they're taking an interest. They're taking the time to show that they believe in me, even if it is superficial or whatever it is that they're looking at. I'd take time to be like, thank you, thank you for supporting me. And I do share it. And some girls might be like, oh, it's so negative to look at that stuff. But I felt like some of these accounts were actually quite positive and like very nice to the girls. I don't know. So very mixed. I'm very mixed on it. I don't spend too much time dwelling on it though. Just because I'm not in somebody's list. Like I wasn't in anybody's list before going. And I could be like, well, this sucks, but I'm still going to perform the best way I can. Like, that's why what I said to one of the girls was like, well, I look at it quick, I thank them, and that's it. Like, I'm not sitting there in bed like, oh my God, I didn't make pageant 1, 2, 3, 4's hot pick list. It's the end of my life.
4 followers.
I'm never gonna win.
It is
never
what
gonna
it
win.
is.
It is what it is. Like you can't dwell on it. So I think that I'm somebody that doesn't have too much of an issue with the hot picks list. But mind you, like, it doesn't really matter because you could be somebody's number one day and then be their 20 and you have no idea where it's coming from. So,
I was always just so curious. I wanted to see what that was like.
It was new. Like I had never been on any of those. Actually, that's a lie. Because I was on a hot picks list when I was doing Teenage Canada. It was Andrew's. The pageant spotlight.
Yeah.
10 years ago, he did one of his top 10, and I was like, wow. I remember being like, wow, I'm on his top. It was like huge for me. I'd never done a pageant before, and I'm like, I am on this top 10 of this blogger, and that was the only one time because I just didn't really. But then it started up again when I did Miss Universe Canada. I'm like, what? All these hot picks and like, and I think like. But interacting with them and some of them are very genuinely nice, but it was like, this is so odd for me. And then it was like even more at Miss International. Like Miss International was crazy. Mm-hmm. I'd have some of them message me, like asking me like about the schedule. I was like, whoa,
that's weird.
Like, what are you doing? Like, what is like one of them was like, Miss International is so secretive. And I was like,
for a reason.
I don't know. Like, so,
why aren't you giving out your hotel rooms?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's interesting. Like it was like a whole new door opening. That's what. So I'm glad you asked that because like for me it was like this is very new too.
Yeah.
And obviously the girls would talk about it. Like the girls would talk about it. So some don't like to look at them. Then there's like if you're okay with yourself, like, and it's not going to affect. Like they're not judges.
Right, exactly.
They just like you. So if you're on their list and if you're not, it doesn't mean anything about you because they're not even there.
True.
Like true. I think there was one that was like after prelims and they weren't even there. So like for them to pick their best in prelims, I think it was just from pictures.
Totally.
They weren't there. They didn't hear you talk.
Exactly.
Crazy.
So
well, Melanie, we are getting close to the end of our episode with you today, and I'm sure all of our viewers are really excited to hear what's next for you because, like we said, you went from one to another, and you've been nonstop. And now that you've taken time to just hibernate a little bit, as we do when it's cold here in Canada, what's next for you?
Oh, I don't think I'm ready to say yet. I'm still like, it's still fresh for me. Mm-hmm. I know it's been a month. Like I think I mentioned yeah, it's the 29th and finals is on the 26th, and I came back to Canada just before November 1st, so it's still fresh for me. But maybe something else is out there for me. I don't know. Maybe something else is next for me. I'm just not ready to say, and I still need some time, as I've said before.
Totally.
So I think that'll be a question for another day. But if anybody has any recommendations for me, feel free to message me. If anybody has questions about Miss International, or maybe you're interested in doing Miss International Canada, it's now separate from Miss Universe Canada. So that could be somewhere you'd like to go first. Or maybe you just like your only thing, like maybe you really want to be Miss International, because that's an incredible goal. So if you have any questions about my experience there, feel free to reach out. Yeah, like I came home with so many fun things, like,
oh my gosh, I love that.
So many fun things. And yeah, I'm not sure what's next for me, but I'm still fresh from Japan.
Exciting.
That's amazing. So if people are interested in learning more about you, following your journey, catching up with all of your Japan adventures, where can people follow you?
Oh, so my Instagram is @officiallymelanie, and you can also follow the Miss International Canada account, Miss International Canada. It's also on Facebook. And yeah, I mean, I have a TikTok account, but you don't want to follow that. That's I am more of an Instagram girl. It's so funny. I keep saying like, oh, I'm gonna get back onto TikTok, and I think it's just like the millennial side of me that's like, this is why you can't make good photo or videos on TikTok. But then I have friends that are older than me that are making like incredible reels, like Cindy. Like Cindy makes incredible TikTok content. So I'm like, I really can't blame this on my age. But
you just called her out for being
just
older.
Follow me on Instagram. Oh,
don't let her hear that.
Not that much older.
Yeah.
No, not that much older. But I'm like, I've said it to her, I think I've said it to her, like, oh, I think it's because I'm a millennial. And she's like, I'm literally older than you. I was like, okay. Okay, forget it. Yeah. So follow me on Instagram. My TikTok is, I will say, like under construction. We'll see if I delete it or if I keep going on it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Go follow her on Instagram. Stay tuned. Maybe there'll be an announcement later on in the future. Not now, but later on.
Later.
Elizabeth, where can people find you online?
On Instagram, you can find me at Elizabeth Marnock Pageantry, and I also run my own pageant, Canadian National Miss, so you can check that out. We actually have a Black Friday deal going on right now. So if you sign up by December 1st, you get a free optional, which gives you the chance to win up to $200 cash at Nationals. So if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, it's gonna be really fun. These two helped me a ton at Nationals, so I'm very thankful for my little pageant family here. But anyway, Regina, how about you?
You all can find me here on this YouTube channel that you are currently watching the Pageant Sit Down on. So make sure you like this video if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't yet, and also follow the show. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Pageant Sit Down, all one word. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it's Regina Elena. So what you see right here, but with an ITS in front of it. And you can also follow me on TikTok as well. And if you'd like some pageant coaching, I believe it's pageantcoaching.reginaelena on Instagram. Yes, there's a lot going on. Melanie, thank you so much once again for joining us. I know it's dinner time. But thank you so much for joining us, coming out of hibernation and sitting down with us. It's always so fun catching up with you.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. I'm so glad to be back, and I hope I can see you guys in person soon. I think I will be seeing you, Liz, right?
I think so. Yeah, we'll be seeing each other soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't be seeing. No, I'm kidding. I hope I see you soon. It's next time you're in Toronto, because I feel like you're always in the city. Let me know so we can catch up. And to everyone who's tuned in, again, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up. And we will see you all next time. Bye.